Hello, awesome people. I hope you are having an amazing day today. So on August, about 21 years ago, roughly, on August 13th, 2004, I published an article on the Magic the Gathering website called Star City Games, called Revelations of a Magic Writer. Many people at that time and later on have said that it's one of their favorite things they've ever read by me, and so forth in the Magic the Gathering genre. And so forth. So I thought it would be fun for you to hear that in my own voice before my voice goes too much from Huntington's disease or that sort of a thing, which I talk about here and in the Revelations and such, right? And so I think it'd be fun for you to do this and so forth. I don't know what it's going to be like, right? I'm just going to read it right straight from a phone, right? So if I'm not giving you the eye contact that you deserve, that's the reason why. Also, if you could please share this with other Magic the Gathering people. Ever since I lost my job about 5 or 6 months ago, I've been trying to monetize my YouTube channel and so forth, which I wasn't, and I do have enough people watching and views, but and people subscriptions, but I don't have the 4,000 video hours. In the past year, I'm still at 3.7. which I've been at for the last few months, and so forth. So I'm trying to monetize this. So if you would share and watch this video as sort of a gift to folks, I thought that would be fun. All right, so here we go. So this is an Abe's note at the beginning. It's in italics. I wrote this article a little while ago, but I didn't submit it for publication to Nut. I did not believe this is the typical SCG, short for Star City Games, fare. Just writing the piece was a little cathartic. However, upon review, it contains the greatest piece of wisdom that I have to endow. More important than what card to play in what matchup. More important than ideas for casual decks. And more important than flipping cards can ever be. As such, I felt that it was my duty to see this through all the way, to take the next step and submit it to the readers here at SCG. I hope you will find it enlightening. And now the article begins. Proper. Nothing is more annoying in life than being awoken by the sound of men hammering at a concrete wall to your apartment 2 hours before you are supposed to wake up. The misty fog of construction swirls with the odor of heated dust. I'm awake and I'm pissed. Oh, I try to cover my ears and roll over and get some sleep anyway. The stubborn obstinacy of slumber clings to me as I ignore the pounding. A few minutes later, the drilling begins, and a sound akin to a giant dentist drill forces me awake much earlier than my body had intended. Sometimes getting up in the morning is the closest analogy to death that I can think of. I make my way to my bedroom, to my closet, and don the closest apparel that I can find. My apartment in the residence hall is just outside of my office. Half stumbling, I pour myself a cup of RC Cola and head into my office. I'm awake so early that the lady working the front desk looks at me suspiciously as if I am the clone that has been replaced by our friendly neighborhood Abe. I plop myself down to my chair and slowly become fully aware of the sounds of a mesh CD and the constant musty stench of burning concrete. They're using a torch now. Refusing to give in to the system, I decide to write today's article. No magic article has been in me longer than this one. Yearning to breathe free. Writing this article is the greatest fear that I have and maybe my greatest joy as well. Interestingly enough, I remain unsure if this article will actually ever see print, even with a deck list. Anyway, allow me to set up the deck list for you with a little background information on myself. Trust me, the info is what's vital to understand if you want to understand the deck. Have you ever thought about your retirement plan? If you are, say, 15, then probably not. I remember getting my first job, then acquiring my Master's of Public Administration at age 24 3 years ago. Retirement plans revolve around retiring around the age 65. Maybe you'll end up retiring a little later, maybe a little earlier, but that's your largest target date. Your plan revolves around it. But what if you don't expect to live that long? When I was in 8th grade, my mother passed away from heart complications due to Huntington's disease. What is Huntington's disease, you may ask? This is a disorder that infects a victim's brain, causing the victim to slowly lose control over their muscles. A person begins to twitch and convulse. The degenerative condition marches inexorably towards becoming wheelchair-bound, then bedridden, until death ensues. The disease also leads to a loss of emotional and intellectual faculties. There is no known cure, and it's hereditary. I had a 50-50 chance of having the same disease that claimed my mother's life at the age of 42. Can you imagine growing up with the knowledge that you have a 50-50 chance of only living until you're 40 or so? While other children dream of young, long lives with children and families, you just wish for a clean set of genes. Can you imagine the sudden sidelong stares at your mother when they think you're looking away? My mother was so full of warmth, intelligence, and love. I would highly value her support and advice today if she were alive. To know that the same beast that took her life could be beating within my breast is a heavy daily burden. It colors everything. When I was considering grad school, I decided that it was time to take the test and find out whether or not I had the disease. A simple blood test and a few months' wait were all it took. I had to be certified ready for that information from a counselor. The news that I was given was hardly surprising. I think in some ways I always knew. I'm only 27 years old, and yet I must wrestle with the specter of my own mortality every day. I should have had my midlife crisis when I was a sophomore in college. I guess I missed out on that. While my peers are getting married, planning families, buying houses, and settling into careers, I have to deal with the basic fact that my life will be over in a dozen years. Who wants that sort of certainty in their life? I have chosen to live my life as a single man. How can I burden any woman with my future condition? I also will remain childless because how could I risk any possible genetic contamination? The demon that killed my mother and her father and his father before him will die with my own death. In a way, I will emerge victorious. Would you like to know truly why I became a magic writer? It's because there is so much within me bursting to come forth. I fear that my death will leave me with things left unsaid and unexpressed, and I want to contribute so much to this life of ours. In many career paths, you have to develop a resume, work up a ladder, you have to have a job with authority and impact at the end. That's the major reason that I am a housing administrator. I had a daily impact upon the lives of my residents, and I didn't have to spend several years working my way up some ladder. I simply don't have time for impressive resume building, and my abilities must suffice on their own. Take with you the following life lesson that I have learned. Enjoy life. I do not have regrets about my past, for I cannot change my mistakes. I learn from them and move on. Do not worry about the future, for worrying will do no good. You simply do not have enough time to worry or regret. Enjoy your life and all that God has given you. I love magic. I spend a lot of leisure time playing games, but I love to focus on magic. In magic, there is the strategic element, which is vitally important to me as an intellectual exercise. There's also the competitive part, and my friends will inform you that I'm very competitive. Lastly, and most importantly, there is the social aspect. While I flit about from game to game, magic has remained the one constant in my life. I think the social aspect of the game is the ultimate reason why I still support flipping cards instead of chucking dice or pushing metal. I just returned from a meeting of the Campus Partners Gamers Alliance called ArcMage, which stands for Alliance of Role-Playing, Comic, Hypertext Movie, and Anime Guild of Eastern. I prefer to just call it Geeks Anonymous and move on. I am the co-advisor for the organization and try to help them on the technical side of running a student organization. What I love about them is that they just get it. They get that gaming is ultimately about building relationships. It's like having a party, but you with a meaningful structure. How do you want to be remembered upon your death? If people can say Abe had a meaningful impact upon the game of Magic, Magic is a better game because of Abe, then I think I'd be happy. Well, I'd be happy in the metaphorical, if I were still here, sense. That's why I want to write about Magic. I will continue to write about Magic here at Star City Games until one of the 5 fallable happenings. I quit playing Magic, which looks like that will ever happen. Star City Games fires me. SCG sets his website down. I get a job at Wizards. They probably wouldn't want me to be writing here, or I die. Therefore, you will need to buckle your seatbelts, set your trays in the upright position, and settle in for a long ride with yours truly. I am Abe Sargent, Casual Boy. Article number 75 is coming up, and article number 100 can't be far behind. As for that deck list, let me preface it by saying the following. This is not a typical deck list. It may be the most personal, most sincere, most poetic deck list you have ever seen. I call it my Sorrow's Path deck list. Read the deck list slowly and see if you can catch the theme. Sorrow's Path deck list. Card 1, Genesis. Life Burst, Seeds of Innocence, Rampant Growth, Holistic Wisdom, Disruptive Student, Careful Study, Growth Spurt, Noble Purpose, Musician, Thirst for Knowledge, Renewed Faith, Academy Researchers, Heightened Awareness, Brilliant Plan, Battle of Wits, Sealed Fate, Grim Reminder, Change of Heart, Rebound, Reminisced, Wanderlust, Tragic Poet, Unfulfilled Desires, Burning Wish, Twitch, Solemn Simulacrum, Betrayal of Flesh, False Peace, Torment, Anger, Fervent Denial, Abandoned Hope, Kiss of Death, Moment of Silence, Darkness, Afterlife, Sorrow's Path. This deck is the path of sorrow. I'm sorrow. In other words, this deck simply and truly is my life in order from beginning to likely end. Each card is a title in a strange state of my life. I'm currently at the Tragic Poet stage. Read through it again, but instead of reading it as a deck list, read it as a poem. This may be the greatest deck list I have ever captured. Creative. Rewriting this deck list may be my article, but maybe my biggest fear, but it is the most intimate thing that I've ever done. Remember, enjoy your life, as always. Until later, Abe Sargent and such. All right. So again, I thought it'd be fun for you guys. I was thinking about doing that over around Christmas or New Year's as a thank you, as a gift. And such. And so I thought it would be fun for me to knock that out for you folks. Again, like I mentioned at the beginning, please share this with your friends, particularly Magic friends and so forth, who might, or somebody who might be dealing with disabilities like Huntington's disease and that sort of thing. I have done here on this channel what it's like to live with Huntington's disease in a series called Living with HD that I used to do daily videos, but I kind of exhausted all the topics that we're talking about at the time, and so forth. I have now, as of a couple of months ago, I have now outlived my mother. So my dad and I are both like, yeah, and I've definitely been coping with it and such. You can also link to a short story, an article that follows up on this called "And on That Day Like Any Other," which also is a sequel to this one. And so forth. So again, please like it and share and subscribe with your folks and so forth. And thanks again for watching. As a reminder of this article, this channel is about watching things, reading and giving you my reviews of older things in science fiction, fantasy, and horror. Like novels and video games, movies, short stories, poems sometimes, and such. All right, and older things that are heavily impactful on my game. So if you like that, you definitely check out more things on this channel. And then again, my channel is named The Worst Thing About New Books. It's a quote by a French philosopher, Jacques Joubert, who said in his book in the 20th century that it was the worst thing they kept us from reading, the worst thing about them was they kept us from reading the old ones, all these old classics and such. That's definitely a passion, finding these things and unpacking them for you folks. And then finally, I want to thank you so very much for taking some time out of your day and investing it and watching my videos, right? Because we all have so many things that are happening in our lives and we're pulled in so many different directions. So the fact that you spend this time with me, that's incredibly humbling. And just listening to an article that I published like 20 years ago is even more humbling. So thanks again, and I appreciate it. Have an amazing day.